Yes.
Yeah. Good evening, sir. So today
Good
I
evening,
will.
Shubham Sharma, and thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
Good
Thank you
evening,
so much
sir.
for
Good
joining.
evening,
Evening,
Sumanji,
sir.
and
Yes,
thank you
sir.
for inviting me for this conversation about activism. That's what I'm told.
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead.
So today we have JERENINIO Almeida, sir, who is a teacher, celebrated inspirational orator, and motivational speaker. And he's a highly sought management consultant, leadership trainer, and life coach. And he's also the founder and the driving force behind the International Confederation of NGO. And his mission in life is to encourage individual social responsibility. So, sir, can we know a little bit more about you from yourself, please?
You said it all, so I think there's nothing much to know. But
Yeah, like
the
about your journey from starting, how it went.
starting, I was born sometime in 1970, 23rd of November 1970 to be exact, in a place called Goa, and then raised in a place called Bombay. I went to a school called St. Xavier's High School and then to St. Xavier's College. So I'm a dyed in the wool Xavierite, having done my schooling, college, management, and then setting up a leadership school in Xavier's along with Father Anthony D'Souza. So very hardcore Xavierite with very secular values. I was born in a family which practices Christianity and a family which is from Goa. The roots are in a place called Goa, which is the southwest part of southwest part of India, and have been kind of doing a lot of work in the social space from a young age of 17. Um, a few things happened in my early years. My father died when I was 8 years old, and became a little bit of a rebel without a cause, rebel without a pause for around 8 years of my life because I was escaping from life till I realized that I need to do something meaningful and decided to volunteer in a place called Kamatipura with the sex workers and the sex worker children and trying to help them to kind of go to school. And that's where I think I found my true calling and to work with people to enable people to understand their potential, and that's what I do now as a leadership coach, as a management consultant, as an entrepreneur mentor for the past 2 decades full time. I've always been an entrepreneur all my life, primarily a serial entrepreneur in the profit sector, and then for the past 2 decades as a missionary passivepreneur. I don't like the word social entrepreneur because social entrepreneurs are more are more focused on profits than even profit entrepreneurs, right? So the entire concept of social entrepreneurship has somewhere lost its meaning. So that's who I am. I'm a activist by passion. It's deeply embedded in my DNA. I wouldn't kind of truly uh, align with the current use of the word activism, which is mostly lip service because a lot of activists, you know, talk about being activists. But as an activist, my simple reasoning as an activist, and I wrote this piece on Facebook around 2 years ago. And I called it the activist ethic and principles. And as an activist, you cannot be aligned with any political party or with any business or with any NGO organization, right? Because you do work which is purely good for humanity, for society, and for the world, which means you have to take stands against any and every politician, any and every political party, and and every business that is doing wrong. And if you're not doing that, you are not an activist. Then you are a lip service activist who's trying to kind of serve your own self-serving agendas and hidden agendas. So that's me in a nutshell. That's who I am.
So, sir, like you said, you just started at the age of 17 only.
Yeah.
So, what were the hardships you faced at that time? Like, what were the challenges you faced in the early stage?
So I started my first venture at the age of 17. I started working at the age of 16. I frankly did not have any challenges in hindsight. Today, if I look at my life in hindsight, uh, challenges were that yes, I lost my father at a young age and then couldn't come to terms with my mother getting married again. I had my first sibling at the age of 10, being the only child for 10 years, right? And then I had my first sibling at the age of 10, and then I have four siblings altogether now. So at the age of 12, I had my second sibling, at the age of 14, my third sibling, and at the age of 17, my fourth sibling. And I was just messing myself up in the head, thinking that my mother's love for me has diminished, and I couldn't come to terms with this entire concept that she's got married again and has distributed my love. So in my head, I was messing myself up. And at a certain stage, if I had not made the right choices, then my consequences and my destiny could have been very different. I smoked pot for around 4 months in my life. I used to start early in the morning at 5 o'clock and smoke my last joint or chillum as it is called at around 10:30, 11 in the night. So I used to kind of escape and like that space of being stoned as it is called, right? But then I saw friends and uh, other students and friends going on to bigger things like heroin and brown sugar, because the drug trade was at its peak at that time. I'm talking about 1980, 1987, 88. And I said, this is not what I want to do. So there was a little sensibility and a little sensitivity that my mother has worked very hard to give me a good education, despite all the hardships that she has faced, and that helped me to kind of take up my first job at the age of 16, which was with Indian Express, selling space for newspapers, selling advertising space for newspapers. And I learned the ropes of advertising, and I started my first advertising agency at the age of 17. So in hindsight, I wouldn't say that there were a lot of hardships. There were hardships surely, because after my father died, my father was in the customs, and I tend to believe that he was honest, because he didn't leave anything much behind for us except for his pension, right? Otherwise, corrupt cops, corrupt politicians, and corrupt custom officers make a lot of money. So after my father died, we've seen days of poverty. My mother, even though she got married again at the when I was 10, she decided not to take any support from my stepfather for my education. So she worked very hard giving people tuitions and, making her own money so that she could pay for my school fees and all. And I think that led to that sensitivity that I shouldn't waste my life. So, like I said, if I had made different choices like some of my friends did, because I tried to convince all my friends that we should not be doing drugs, etc., but many of them did not listen and went that path. And today, some of them are dead, some of them are drug addicts. A few of us decided not to go that route, and here we are. We've created a different path for ourselves. So, the big lesson from this is that we all go through hardships in life, we all face brokenness, but when broken, you have choices. You either give up and break down, or you persevere and break through with grit, resilience, passion, and perseverance. So I think those choices led to who I am today, what I do today. And I feel very strongly for all causes. And I feel that, one has to take a stand and speak out when you see something happening wrong in our society, in our country, or our world, because the biggest problem of the world today is not corruption, war, conflict, or anything else. It is human apathy, because most of us stay silent when we see wrongs happening, whether it is in India or the United States or in Europe. You will see that apathy has become human nature, right? And there's a very old saying by Edmund Burke that all it takes for evil to triumph is when good people stay silent. So you may not be doing evil, but when you allow evil to happen, you have participated in the evil. And that's why I wrote this piece called The Activist Ethic, and I will share the link with you. And I would like you to
Yes,
put it up
sure.
along with the video, because I see a lot of activists today, and I come back to activism again because that's a very special hat for me. Besides everything else I do, and since you wanted to speak to me about activism, that
Yes,
as an activism you have to be unbiased, non-prejudiced. You have to be neutral, right? You take sides with what is right, and you take sides against what is wrong. Don't take sides with the BJP or a Congress or the Democrats or the Republicans, right? Because whether we like it or not, all political parties will do wrong to stay in power or to get into power. All businesses will do wrong to make profits because they don't care too much about people and planets. CSR also is lip service. So as an activist organization or as an NGO or not for profit, if you're working for a certain cause and you tend to take money from people or businesses which are doing harm towards the same cause, then I feel it is a conflict of interest. You're not really helping the cause, you have compromised the cause. For example, when organizations work with children and children welfare or children rights, and then the same organization takes money from an organization, and I will name them, like a Vedanta, which has harmed environment, polluted water, polluted the climate, and actually kind of deprived children of a safe environment, safe food, safe drinking water, then how do you really kind of forget activism? How do you even talk about doing social welfare? I think it's a conflict, right? So
Yes.
that's where we come from. That's what the International Confederation of NGOs is all about. We work with very small, medium, micro NGOs, not with the big, cool sounding, fund seeking NGOs, which only raise funds and squander most of it on administration cost, right? We work with the small NGOs, and those are the stories that we write in our books called Karma Kari, of people who are making a difference with little or no funding, while the big fund NGOs are cannot really show impact, right? To just qualify this, I would give you, like, there are several international NGOs which have like 100 crores, 200 crores, 300 crores as the annual budget, or even homegrown NGOs like a Cry or a Concern India, right? If I ask them to show me the impact that they've created on the ground, they wouldn't be able to show much. While you can see a Lakshman Singh who stays in Rajasthan, who was featured in my first book, who has transferred over 500 villages from wastelands into wetlands and created livelihood and a life of dignity for almost a million people, a million farmers who are today earning their livelihood and have got a life of dignity from agriculture. Or you can see William Kamkwamba in Africa. You have all the international aid agencies, including the UN in Oxfam, ActionAid, World Vision, who are working in Africa. Where's the impact? And then you have a William Kamkwamba, who's a young 13-year-old boy thrown out of school. The movie is very popular on Netflix, The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind. And we interviewed him. He's our mascot mentor for the missionary pastorpreneurship course that we are teaching in colleges. And William Kamkwamba, after being thrown out of school, learned how to make windmills from a library book. And without any engineering degree or fancy college education, right, built windmills in Malawi. And today,
Yeah.
at the age of 31, he's created the Moving Windmills Academy, where he's inviting missionary passopreneurs from the world over to say, come, let us learn together and let us create impact, create value for the community together. While most entrepreneurs only talk about creating valuation, they are creating value, they're creating impact and making a positive contribution. So I think those are the kind of people I appreciate. Those are the kind of people I like, because these are the people who are really making a difference and bringing about change on the ground.
So, like, you have traveled about, I was reading about you that more than 70 countries. Like,
Yes, I've
so,
worked with people from over 75 countries now. Yeah.
yeah. So, sir, for you, which one incident, like, when you were traveling across the globe, like, which one visit to a place which influenced you a lot?
They, I've really not thought about this, but I think every little story that I pick in my life influences me. But what inspired me to start the Karmavir Awards, which today have become the game changer in awards around the world, because we give awards to everybody from a slum dweller to a sex worker to a corporate captain of industry to a bureaucrat to a politician, as long as you're making a difference. And our Karmavir Award recipients are from around the world, people who have huge stature. Some of them are very, not some of them, most of them are very ordinary heroes like a Lakshman Singh or a Subhashini Mistry. So I was inspired to start the Karmavir Awards by a man called Dashrath Manji. So
Yeah,
there's
wow.
been one very influential, game-changing moment in my life. It is that moment when I met Dashrath Manji by default in the year 2003, when I was, preparing to start the Joy of Giving movement, which is now celebrated by people around the world. But again, as lip service, because I distanced myself from that movement, even though I started it, because I say I find no joy in the joy of giving. And Dashrath Manji, who was from a very poor community called the Musahar community, which literally translated in Hindi basically means rat eaters or chuhe khane wale, because
Mm.
Musahar, right? And they don't eat rats because it's a fine dining dish in a in a fine dining delicacy in some fancy restaurant in Bombay or Delhi. They eat rats because they are ostracized from society. So in a country that prides itself falsely, in 2003 the slogan was India Shining, and I wanted to tell the people of urban India, what makes you think India is shining? India is not shining because the people in real India, the the hinterlands of India, are starving and dying of hunger. And today the slogan is India economic superpower. How are we a superpower even when one child is dying of hunger? And it's not one child dying of hunger, it's millions of children dying of hunger. And the numbers have grown from 2003 to 2022. So 20 years later, more children and more people are dying of hunger. So is that really progress? I don't find that to be progressive. H- so it's all lip service and sloganeering, right? So Dashrath Manji, who's from this community, who are called the untouchables within the untouchables, look at the progress that we've made as humanity. That even in 2022 we think of people as untouchables. So that's not progressive, that's regressive. But a man from this community called Dashrath Manji, if I stand to my full height, I'm 6 feet 4 inches plus, and this man must have been around 5 feet 2 inches, who cut an entire mountain with a hammer and a chisel. And I said, there are so many ordinary, everyday, real heroes who are unsung out there that I need to do something to bring them to the fore. So that, in a true sense, was that one big game-changing moment in my life. Inspired me to start the Karmavir Awards, and a lot of people said that, who will want to attend the Karmavir Awards when you are not doing it in a fancy hotel, when you are doing it with ordinary people attending it. And I said, yeah, because we're celebrating ordinary people, right? It's not just about giving awards to the who's who can lobby for awards, whether it's the Padma Awards or the Bharat Ratnas, right? And we gave the first Karmavir Lifetime Achievement Award to Dr. Varghese Kurian, the founder and creator of Amul and the White Revolution, because he's not got the Bharat Ratna. So a Bharat Ratna is given to a Sachin Tendulkar, who I don't think is worthy and deserving of it at all. Because what has he done for the community and society per se? Nothing. He's played cricket for himself and made profit and money for himself. But it has been denied to a Dr. Varghese Kurian only because he took a stand against the government during the emergency. So in government terms, it is called persona non grata. So he'll never be given the Bharat Ratna. So I wanted to give the awards to people who really made a difference on the ground, who are being the change that they want to see in the world. Your title, your position, your stature, your status, your wealth does not matter. Just tell us, what are you doing on the ground? And you don't need to lobby us. You will get the award because you're doing something good on the ground. And today, finally, after years of starting the Karmavir in 2003 is when we conceptualized the idea, the inception. 2006, we launched it. Today, after almost 2 decades, you have the Padmas, which are now being given to ordinary heroes because they were earlier given only to people who could lobby for awards. So I think that's the difference that we made, and it was inspired by Dashrath Manji. We also started the Karmakari books in 2010 because most television channels, most newspapers or brands, whether it is the Teachers Awards or Red and White Bravery Awards, were again lip service. The awards were being given to people who could get them some visibility in media. We started the Karmavir Awards in 2006 and gave it to everybody from a slum dweller to a captain of industry to a bureaucrat from around the world. And we created that impact. And in 2010 we started the Karmakari books, started writing the Karmakari books, because there were no columns in newspapers or magazines dedicated to unsung heroes. And I think from the time we conceptualized in 2003 to now, you have several television channels, you have several newspapers who now have columns about unsung heroes. You have television channels who started, you know, Real Heroes awards. So we've been able to influence all this, but our inspiration to start all this was Dashrath Manji, the mountain man, the man who cut a mountain with a hammer and a chisel, working over 22 years, right? 10 hours every day. Look at his grit, look at his passion, look at his perseverance. And the reason he cut that mountain was not because he had some hobby of cutting mountains. He cut that mountain so that nobody else dies like his wife died because he couldn't cross that mountain on time. Now, my question is, if Dashrath Manji could cut that mountain, what are all of us doing with all our fancy education and degrees? Are we really doing something which is worth a while and making a difference for the community? So I think that's what it is. It's about making a real difference on the ground. So that's the one defining moment which I can talk about. There are many defining moments, because every time I meet a real hero, it inspires you. But yes, Dashrath Manji inspired us to start the Karmavir Award, start the Karmakari books. So
So,
that's the game changing moment.
so you have met a lot of inspirational people. Like I was reading that you got a letter from Dr. Kalam himself. So, which one moment you remember for as your achievement? Like,
So I got the opportunity to spend an entire day with Dr. Kalam, uh, you know, a little before his death. So it started with a 1 hour meeting late in the night at around 9 o'clock. And then he said, I want to spend the entire day with you. And I went and I spent the day with him. And he wanted to know about all the work that we were doing. And we gave him a breakdown of all the work that we were doing. And one of our ambitious initiatives is to teach character rooted education with life, leadership, and learning to learn lessons to children starting from the age of 7. So we were taking it out into the schools. And after learning about all our work, he said, Jerry, I would like to be the ambassador for your school program, because I want to inspire the children to be the change and make a difference. And, our Karmavir Award recipient, Baby Benzi, who is a young autistic girl today. She's a girl who has autism and she can't relate with people, but she sings and inspires other children with autism to go beyond. And her mother, Kavita Kumar, had nominated Dr. Kalam for the Karmavir Puraskar Award. And he said to us, Jerry, I don't think I'm worthy of the Karmavir Puraskar, because I have not really done anything much to impact society except for my work as a scientist and then the president. So let me do some work. So I will start by taking the Karmavir Chakra Bronze Award. Let me start with that. And I would like to come and sit in the Rex Forum for 3 days so that I can learn from all the inspiring heroes that you curate from around the world. So we love that humility of Dr. Kalam. And I think that left an impact on me. And unfortunately, he passed away in the same year, and we now have a award dedicated to him as a tribute to Dr. Kalam, and the entire school program is dedicated to Dr. Kalam. So yes, a man who lived a very humble life. I have seen him in his house. He lived a very Spartan lifestyle. There were no fancy uh, things in his house. Lived in a very simple way, and I think his life is his message here. So that's what.
so, sir, like, can you tell something about your most remembered international visit?
Most remembered.
International visit
Most remembered international visit. I have visited a lot of
means,
countries for work.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I don't think there's a place like India, frankly. Uh, I love India, uh, and I think one of the foreign visits which really kind of left a mark on me was the first time I went to a place called the Democratic Republic of Congo. And I was staying in this because I'd gone there for work to do a leadership coaching workshop for a company called Kalpataru from India, who have a huge operation over there. And they had put me up in this hotel called the Hotel Kinshasa. Hotel Kinshasa is named after the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo. And from the time I entered the country, I saw stark corruption. And then when I was going through the city into the hotel, I saw stark poverty. And I said, India is so much better. And when I reached the hotel Kinshasa, I said, in this place, either you're in this hotel or you're out. Then I couldn't go out anywhere because I had this three huge bodyguards who were in attending to my security and ensuring that I stay safe. Because in the Democratic Republic of Congo, uh, chances are very high for foreigners to get kidnapped and killed because poverty is huge and you can't step out anywhere. So I also understood the meaning of freedom, right? Because I couldn't step out anywhere without these three huge bodyguards. They were as tall as me, much huger, and you start appreciating your country more. And despite all the corruption and poverty and everything that you see, I think India has huge democratic values, which are of course getting stifled in the because of the current government, which is trying to kind of marginalize and stifle voices of dissent, right? Or voices of minorities. And I'm sure that as a country, we won't allow them to get away with this marginalization because as a journalist or an activist, if you speak against them, you get arrested for sedition and thrown into jail without any proper legal process. So I think we have to uphold the values of democracy as a citizenship, as 1.4 billion Indians, failing which the few politicians who are only looking at their own self serving interests will take this country to the dogs. We are already very regressive. We can't be more regressive. And if we are not paying attention to the big issues like proper education reforms so that every child gets good education and make something of their life, proper health care, proper gender rights, not just for women but also for people from the LGBTQ community, and only focus on nonsense like temples and religion and all that kind of stuff, then I think we've lost the plot, not just as a government, but also as a citizenry. So I think we need to wake up, smell the coffee, and do something to make the country progressive because we just can't rely on a few politicians and a few bureaucrats. It's up to the citizens of India to take charge.
So I was reading that you have also launched the mission Swachh Bharat mission, and later adopted by our Prime Minister, and also you have co-authored with him in Man Ki Baat. Like, can you tell something about that?
Right. So on the record, not very proud of the Monkey Bath book because I agreed to co-author it because I felt that I could put my thoughts across. And there were three conditions to accept the book when the Prime Minister's office and the publisher approached me. Condition number one, I won't be writing thoughts which are only complementing Modi's thoughts, but I'll also be writing a lot of thoughts which will be countering his thoughts, which will be against what he's thinking, right? Because some of his thoughts are progressive, many of his thoughts are very regressive. That's condition number one. Condition number two was I cannot, you know, I don't have the temperament for the sycophancy and the subserviency of people serving in the prime minister's office. So I can't deal with them. I have to deal with him directly. And none of my thoughts will be edited or altered. And the third condition was that I would like to follow up the Man Ki Baat book with a book series, an annual book series called Jan Ki Baat, where I crowdsource public opinion, views, and thoughts from the people of India for the Prime Minister, whether it is Narendra Modi or anybody else tomorrow, for the Prime Minister and all the people in the Parliament to listen to, that it is not about your Man Ki Baat. It is about what the people want. You are here to serve the people, not rule the people, because you are a public servant, not a ruler. Never forget that. So these are the kind of thoughts I shared in Man Ki Baat. The reason I say I'm not so proud is because, uh, at that time I thought Modi could have transformed and become a statesman if he wanted to, but he's turned out to be a very petty politician who is not taking the right action against everything that is going wrong in the country. So, right from lynching a man in 2015, which is 1 year after he got elected for the first time, when a man got lynched for allegedly, carrying beef. And who are you to tell us what we can eat and what we cannot eat? Who are you to tell us what we can eat and not eat? And who are your bucks to lynch a person just because he's carrying beef, even if he was carrying beef, right? To the current December 2021 uh, meeting in a place called Haridwar, where many of his Bhakts got together and were talking about killing Muslims and killing people from minorities. Today you'll kill the Muslims, tomorrow you'll come for the Catholics and the Sikhs, and tomorrow you'll come for the Hindus. तो हिंदू खतरे में है, हिंदू से ही खतरा है,
Yes, that's the
क्योंकि
most disgusting.
ब्राह्मण नीचे जातों को मारेगा, फिर ब्राह्मण नीचे वाले ब्राह्मण को मारेगा. So let's wake up and smell the coffee. And that's the reason I say I'm not so proud that I did that book, because I wrote all these thoughts, but unfortunately they're not listening, right? So today we are on the international genocide watch, because India can have a genocide if this is not contained. And the reason I say I'm not so proud is, okay, all your bucks can do all that nonsense about talking about killing Muslims and killing Sikhs and killing Christians, but you should take action. You should take legal action, because when you don't take legal action, you're allowing them to get away with murder. Because the only action you're taking are against the activists who are speaking against wrongs and who are doing right. You're not taking action against people who are doing wrong and not doing anything right. Therein lies the problem. So I say it on record, not very proud. And yes, I had my reasons because I want to get my thoughts across. And of course, Jan Ki Baat is a huge game changer again. We were to launch it in 2018, but couldn't do it because it was election year. But we are planning to start from this year and crowdsource public opinion. An experiment like that has never been done in any country. So we'll be the first democracy to do an experiment like that, where we create a citizen manifesto, which is crowdsourced from the citizens of India. कि ये हमें चाहिए, जो आप सोच रहे हो वो हमें नहीं चाहिए. हमें मंदिर नहीं चाहिए, हमें हिंदू नेशन नहीं चाहिए, हमें विकास चाहिए, हमें शिक्षा
Education.
चाहिए, हमें हेल्थ केयर चाहिए, हमें इक्वल अपॉर्चुनिटी चाहिए, हमें जात पात नहीं चाहिए. सब मनुष्य है. अगर ये आपका धर्म आपको सिखाता नहीं है तो आपका धर्म किस काम का? कि हर इंसान एक है. ये अगर आपका धर्म या आपका जात पात आपको सिखाता नहीं है तो फिजूल है.
On this, I would say that my thoughts are exactly the same as yours.
Thank you, Shubham, and I hope you won't edit any of this.
No, sir. Even
I
I
won't,
think
sir.
so.
Obviously, I won't. It will be go as it is.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so sir, as we are running out of time, there are a lot of things to talk about, but since so the last but not the least question. So what message you want to give to the people like individual social responsibility?
Yes, so that individual social responsibility, I'm happy to inform you that that is a term that we coined way back in 2006 when we had our first
Yeah,
Karmavir Awards. Because I said CSR is not enough. We need to have citizen social responsibility, or ISR, individual social responsibility. And my first big message and appeal to the people of India is, please don't be bucks of any politician, चाहे मोदी हो या राहुल गांधी हो या ममता बनर्जी हो या कोई हो, राइट? कोई भी पॉलिटिकल पार्टी हो, हम उनके वजह से नहीं है, वो हमारे वजह से है. We are not because of them, they are because of us. They are not our rulers. We are not a monarchy. We are a democracy, and the world's largest democracy. And democracy comes from two Greek words, demos and kratos, which means people power. So reclaim and preserve people power. People power. Stop putting these politicians on a pedestal and treating them like gods or idols. They are not. They're simply petty politicians. They are here to serve the people, not rule the people. So don't blindly believe them, and don't be blind believing bhakts, चाहे वो मोदी हो, गांधी हो, ममता हो, या कोई भी party हो. That is my first big message to the people. The second big message is to all the Modis and the Rahul Gandhis and the Mamata Banerjees and the Arvind Kejriwals and every petty politician and political party. When you say, I am the only one, you're far from being a leader, because leaders treat everybody as leaders. And leaders don't say, I'm the only one. Leaders create more leaders. Because तुम्हारे बाद कौन आएगा? तुम मनुष्य हो ना, तुच्छ मनुष्य हो, just another mortal human being. You will die one day. So what do you mean I'm the only one? You are not the only one. By saying I'm the only one, you make us into 1.4 billion important Indians. We are not important, we are important. You are not the only one. People can emerge. So stop thinking that you are the only one. That is my big message to the politicians. And don't do your manmani. Do what is right for the people. You're not here to rule us. You're here to serve us. You're a public servant, an elected public servant. Never forget that. That is my message to the politicians. And my message to the youth is, like people in my generation, please don't be blind believing bucks. Use your reasoning, use your rationale. Don't get swayed by all this Hindu nation and temple and nonsense. चाहे आप किसी भी धर्म के हो, practice one big religion, humanity, इंसानियत. कोई ऊंचा नहीं, कोई नीचा नहीं, सब एक हैं. कोई काला नहीं, कोई brown नहीं, कोई white नहीं. It hurts me to say that the Indians are the biggest racists and castes of the world, worse than the whites. So let us wake up and let us get over this. Let us practice oneness. Let us practice humanity and make humanity your biggest religion. After that, follow whatever you want. Get out of these labels. मैं हिंदू हूं, मैं मुसलमान हूं, मैं ईसाई हूं. पहले इंसान बनो ना. इंसान बनना तो भूल ही गए आप. Become a human first, then become what you want to become. And in our country, we are not just Muslims, Christians, Hindus. Like I always say, it's very difficult to find an Indian in India, find a human being in India. Now, I'm a Punjabi, I'm a Goan, I'm a Gujarati. Arey, get out of this nonsense. Be a human being, be a insan first, and then be whatever label you want, right? And I always say unbelong. Don't belong to any, right? Patriotism does not mean that we put other countries down. We put Pakistan down. No, that's not patriotism, right? So let's understand that's jingoism, right? To think that Pakistan is the enemy. Pakistan is not the enemy. The people of Pakistan are just like you and me. They don't want any war or conflict, right? It's only the governments which want to keep this war agenda conflict alive because it serves their purpose. So get over it. Don't make every cricket match like a war. Rise, become progressive, stop being so regressive. That is my universal message to all the youth and the grown-ups of the country.
Thank you so much, sir. I literally got goosebumps because you spoke my heart out when I heard that term that Hindus khatre mein. It's not like that. It's like everybody is human.
नहीं, आई सेड ना, हिंदू खतरे में है, ये उन्होंने आपको ये उन्होंने स्लोगन बेचा है आपको, पर मैं हमेशा
Yes.
कहता हूँ हिंदू खतरे में किससे है? हिंदू खतरे हिंदू से है. The Hindutva nation, the Sanatan nation, which they want after 2024, will be worse than the Taliban nation in Afghanistan. और ये सब जो सब हिंदूज आर ब्लाइंड बिलीविंग भक्ट्स ना, इनको तभी पता चलेगा जब वो बोलेंगे आपके बेटी को स्कूल मत भेजो, आपकी बेटी जीन्स नहीं पहन सकती है, आपकी बीवी को सती पे चढ़ाएंगे, ये करेंगे वो. तो अभी अभी जागो, right? There's no Hindu nation. We are India. We are not a
Yes.
Hindu nation. It belongs to everybody.
So thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Pleasure speaking with you, and thank you for having me on this podcast. Thank you so much, Shubham and Suman. I hope it was useful.